Okay, I think we will get started. I've shown you my two slides, um, and we've gone over those. So what I'd like to do, an honor for me, to be able to introduce our guest speaker, Dee Dee Just. This is our first live event of 2026, and it's a great send-off to have her with us. Dee Dee Just joined the Vista Buddhist Temple, VBT as we call it, discovering Buddhism at a temple building workshop in 2008. She is still drumming with the Sokenji Taiko group. She's a retired licensed marriage and family therapist. Dee Dee ran her own practice for nearly 20 years until 2024. She specialized in bereavement therapy and also supported individuals and couples with various other life challenges. For 10 years, she led a monthly cancer support group, and in 2017, she co-founded the Dharma Recovery at VBT and has hosted their weekly Zoom meetings since the COVID-19 pandemic. Dee Dee has given talks on grief, loss, and addiction at the Vista Buddhist Temple and the San Diego Buddhist Temple. In 2022, she was also invited to present Buddhism and Addiction for the Buddhist Churches of America Center for Buddhist Education, which is also available on YouTube. Today, we will have a presentation from her titled, When the Mind Won't Sit Still, Buddhism and the Art of Managing Stress. Drawing on her extensive therapy experience and her deep understanding of the Buddhist teachings, Dee Dee will delve into the distinctions between worry, stress, and anxiety. She'll examine how these emotions connect to core Buddhist concepts and will provide valuable insights to enhance our emotional well-being. This is a chance to learn how to transform challenges into opportunities for peace and resilience. So please, Dee Dee, take it away. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Can everybody see this?
Yeah,
Yes,
it looks great.
We can see
Yeah.
Dee Dee. It looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Reverend John. I appreciate everything you've said about me. I also appreciate the fact that you've really helped me through my stress putting this presentation together. He's been very patient as I've been very high maintenance. So I am Dee Dee Just, a member of the Vista Buddhist Temple in Vista, California, and a retired marriage and family therapist. As the title suggests, I'd like to talk to you today about worry, stress, and anxiety, and a few ways to understand and live with them from a Buddhist and particularly a Jodo Shinshu perspective. I'll start by talking about the psychology of stress and slowly move my way into Buddhism. So as I said, I've been really stressed. Did you know that public speaking consistently ranks among the things people fear the most? It's even above death. So just to be clear and notice, I am public speaking right now, and I'm stressed. Or maybe I'm just worried. Or is it anxiety? We often use these words interchangeably, but they're actually quite different. And here's the chart that shows you the difference between worry, stress, and anxiety. As you can see, worry happens primarily in our minds. It's when we dwell on potential problems, things that might happen. It's cognitive. It's about the what ifs. What if my computer stops working? That was one of the what ifs that I was worried about. And this was a good example of why what ifs don't matter, because if it happens, oh well. In different from worry, stress is actually the body's physical response to an external demand or pressure. We call it a stressor or a trigger. When the stressor goes away, the stress usually does too. Anxiety is different. It doesn't always need a clear trigger. It's more like a persistent state, often a combination of worry and stress, where the body feels stuck in a false alarm mode, even when there's no immediate danger. Because anxiety is persistent, it can seriously affect the way people function in the world. A simple way to remember the differences between these: worry is about thoughts, stress is about bodily reaction, and anxiety happens when the two combine and won't stop. So I'd like to talk for a second about a different type of anxiety that is not on the chart. I call it free-floating anxiety. I'm using the term off-label because it actually is a label for something meant for an individual diagnosis. But that label, free-floating anxiety, seems to best describe the way I feel about this. With the world in total chaos and a continuous news cycle, this level of anxiety hovers and affects us in our thoughts and bodies the way other types of anxiety affects us. But we're not really aware of where exactly it's coming from. And it doesn't occur to us that it's just out there, everywhere. It's helpful to me when I realize that this distressing undercurrent affects all of us in a very interconnected way. So, I've used the word trigger several times. So let me explain what it means in this context. In psychology, triggers are learned protection signals. They're not choices that set off an intense emotional or bodily response automatically. Our nervous system links a cue or something that happened in the past, especially an experience when we feel unsafe, overwhelmed, or deeply hurt. You can sort of see the beginning of what may become a trigger in this slide. When that cue shows up again, the body reacts first, heart rate rises, muscles tighten, thoughts may go blank. The emotions that were activated during the original occurrence are activated again and are felt as though the incident is happening right now. A trigger might be a sound, a word, someone's facial expression, a smell, a situation, or even a tone of voice. Excuse me. So our nervous system is constantly scanning for safety versus danger. This is a pretty good system of protection. Has it always been like this for humans? To understand, we have to go back, way back, to early humans. They were hunter-gatherers who went out into the jungle to find food. Imagine them walking along and suddenly hearing the roar of a lion. Now the hunter becomes the hunted. If the hunter stopped to calmly analyze the situation, by the time he's decided what to do, he'd already become the lion's lunch. Fortunately, the human brain evolved with a built-in threat detector, the amygdala, which is down there in the center of our brain, and there are two of them. When it perceives danger, it sets off a series of effects that prepare us to defend ourselves. One of those effects is shutting down the thinking part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, so that our reactions become instinctive rather than thought through. Faced with a lion, The amygdala of the hunter already knows through past experience that lions are dangerous to humans, and it has encoded a trigger and immediately activates one of the fight, flight, or freeze responses. They're there. The automatic choices are to fight the lion with whatever weapons he carries, run, or freeze in place. The hunter can't think. He doesn't make the choice. So whichever he does happens totally automatically. So you might be wondering what this has to do with us, thousands of years later. Well, our brains haven't changed very much, but our environment certainly has. Sometimes it may feel like we're still living in a jungle. There's one such jungle, and another, Los Angeles freeway, rush hour, workplace pressure, deadlines. Now, I think Reverend John mentioned that I had a couple of black cats. This is not one of them. This cat knows how to type. My cats aren't there yet. They're learning, but so far, this is the only one I could find. Social media. Ever say you're going to check one person's Facebook page and then a half hour later, you're still lurking on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok and realize that once again, you've been hooked? So what if you get an email that says, "We need to talk," and that's all it says? Nothing else, no explanation. Notice how your body would react to that before your mind does. Maybe your heart races, maybe your shoulders tense. Your nervous system might react by telling you to fight, like drafting a defensive reply or rehearsing arguments. Or it may want to flee, avoiding the conversation completely or distracting yourself. Or maybe you'll freeze, staring at the screen, unable to respond at all. Nothing bad has happened yet, but your body is already on alert. You're in fight, flight, freeze. You've been triggered. Think for a minute about how you usually handle situations like this. Do you fight? Do you get angry and fight back with words or physically? Is it flight? Do you avoid hard conversations, pull away emotionally? Or freeze, go blank, numb, or agree just to make whatever's going on stop? Agree in order for it to have peace. Whatever it is, this is your nervous system trying to keep you safe. One last thing about triggers. As you know, I was a marriage and family therapist. I can't tell you how many couples came to see me pointing fingers at each other, complaining that their partner kept triggering them. I always had to explain that their partners were not responsible for protecting them from their own triggers. If they keep getting triggered, then they need to work on those triggers by figuring out where they came from and then doing a lot of internal work to understand and tame them. Basically, retraining the amygdala. If you're with someone who knows your triggers and purposely tries to trigger you, you might want to question that relationship. So, like early man, we go out into this jungle because, like the hunter, we too need to eat. We get caught up in the wanting more, bigger, newer, fancier, and we get triggered by our jobs, our boss, our expectations, our families, our societies. We experience constant stimulation, pressure to perform, and the illusion or delusion that we must control everything. We can often feel like we're being eaten alive. I want you to notice what's written on the side of the Amazon truck. Warning, contents may cause happiness. It's just feeding into that need for wanting more. So how can we calm ourselves when so much of our lives are stressful? I usually start by asking Sensei Google what to do about it. And I'm able to find a few good suggestions. Here are two. One of them is exercise. Did you know that exercise is the #1 treatment for depression? It can also help with stress. When I start feeling very stressed to the point where I'm having trouble thinking, I go for a walk. If I can walk in nature, it's even better. I actually keep track of the number of steps I take every day. And during the writing of this presentation, I was able to chart way more steps than usual. Another suggestion is about breathing. In stressful situations, we often hold our breath like, and we inhale slowly or hyperventilate, taking fast, shallow breaths, which doesn't give our brain the oxygen it needs, and inadvertently creates even more stress. So in belly breathing, we inhale slowly through our nose and exhale through our mouth. This uses the diaphragm for the efficient intake of oxygen. So let's try this together, everybody. So breathe in to the count of 4 and just count in your mind. And then hold for 7 whole seconds. And when your 7 seconds are up, breathe out as slowly as you can. The more air you've taken in, the better you can do this. Now, this slide says to repeat this 3 times, and I think that's good advice. But what I do when I'm using this, and I use it a lot, is I breathe normally for maybe I don't know how long, but I want to be comfortable breathing in, and I don't want to get out of breath doing this. So I suggest that you breathe normally after 1 set at least. So these are great techniques in the moment. But what can we work on that will give us long-term relief? That's when we turn to Buddhism. The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path are Buddhism's foundational teaching, and they are a practical guide for ethical living, mental discipline, and wisdom. It consists of 8 interconnected practices which address all aspects of our lives. They aren't rules, but aspirations that we can work toward. They were first taught by the Buddha about 2,500 years ago. It's really interesting how well they apply all these centuries later. So let's start with the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth, dukkha, tells us that life is suffering, that we are dissatisfied, stressed, in pain, and are not at peace with the fact that nothing is permanent and everything is interconnected. The second noble truth, samudaya, almost forgot that, tells that we are actually responsible for our suffering, that it arises from our cravings, anger, and delusion. Craving sounds like alcohol and drug addiction, but it's also about food, shopping, caffeine, wanting a Lamborghini or a Maserati, anything that we think can dull the pain and help us escape from our suffering. Remember fight, flight, freeze. The fight part often shows up as anger, and becoming angry in our society seems to be acceptable, while becoming emotional or showing fear is not. And we are constantly deluded into thinking that we are in control or need to be. All of this keeps us from seeing things as they really are. The third noble truth, Nirodha, tells us that there is a way out of this mess. And the fourth noble truth, Marga, tells us how to do that we are not trapped, and it points us toward the Eightfold Path. So the Eightfold Path is sometimes shown as a list and sometimes shown around this wheel with 8 spokes. The Eightfold Path is a practical guide for ending suffering by offering these 8 practices that you see here, which address all aspects of our lives. They aren't rules, but aspirations that we can work towards. I want to show you a different wheel. This is basically the same wheel, but each of these aspects are called something that is easier for us to understand. Reverend John actually put this together for me with a little help from ChatGPT. And it refines the idea of right, which was the original translation of sama, but in our society can feel dualistic and judgmental. And here he has substituted a different way of reading and comprehending each one. So I'm looking at these to find the ones I think can help us through stress. All of them are useful, but I'd like to concentrate on just a few. Complete view, which is up at the top in the middle. Seeing things as they really are. Understanding the impermanence and interconnectedness of everything. Seeing the true nature of life, rather than seeing things the way we want them to be. Clear speech, which is on the right. Using our words wisely to promote truth, harmony, and understanding, whether it's to someone else or to ourselves. Saying negative things to oneself, as in, "You idiot, I can't believe you did that." That is not wise, not helpful, not kind, and not compassionate. And it often compounds the feelings of stress. Think to yourself how often you do this. Whenever you do it, just notice, oh, I did it again. But don't judge yourself. Don't criticize yourself. Just realize that you've got a habit of talking to yourself in not a nice way. And you can make a conscious effort to practice replacing this meanness with compassion. Complete awareness is in the upper left. Yes, the upper left. Awareness is another word for mindfulness, being fully aware and present in the moment. In the 70s, some of you may remember a spiritual leader named Ram Dass. He wrote a book called Be Here Now. I love this phrase because it reminds me to be mindful. Another person I would call a spiritual leader is Dr. Nobuo Haneda, who is best known for being the director of the Maeda Center in Berkeley, which focused on Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. He taught that the core of Buddhism is self-awareness and self-examination. Being aware of what's causing our worry, stress, or anxiety is part of self-examination. When we can come back to the present moment in our mind and body and fully be here now, we are better able to enjoy the present moment and to accept life as life is. Complete absorption. It's in the middle on the left. This is about meditation. In whatever form is comfortable for you, sitting, walking, chanting, washing the dishes. For me, it's taiko drumming. This gives us a way to slow down, breathe, and practice allowing our minds to think whatever it wants to think and not getting caught or engaged in whatever is happening up there in your head. We simply get absorbed by this process of meditation, concentrating on the present moment. In Buddhism, we don't see worry, stress, or anxiety as failures. We understand that they arise naturally from our blind passions and from caring deeply in an impermanent world. Shinran Shonin, the founder of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, taught that when self-effort falls short, when control, mindfulness, or positive thinking are exhausted, we can look toward Amida Buddha. Buddhist compassion does not wait for calm minds. It holds us in our worry. Even anxious thoughts are already included in boundless compassion. In this tradition, we do not aim to eliminate stress because we do not try to perfect ourselves. We are reminded that we are accepted precisely as we are. And we recite the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. We take refuge in Amida's wisdom and compassion. The Nembutsu is not a technique or a magic spell or a mantra or anything that can accomplish a desired result. From Shinran's perspective, the Nembutsu doesn't do anything. It doesn't accomplish a result. In the practice of Jodo Shinshu, it is simply a calling out, an expression of gratitude for being held when we cannot hold ourselves. As I said before, Buddhism is not about achieving perfection. It's about accepting ourselves as we are and leading into Buddha's wisdom and compassion. So when I woke up this morning, as you might imagine, I was really stressed, not even knowing what was going to happen in this presentation. Breathing and saying the Nembutsu has calmed me. I am so grateful for having the privilege of sharing with you today, and I'm very grateful for your patience. I'm feeling pretty calm right now. Thank you for listening, and please stay for the discussion. Let's put our hands together, and please join me in Gasho. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you.